Summit. Excellencies, ISA Summits have proven to be highly successful in bringing new business models, innovative ideas, and initiatives in solar energy to the forefront for the knowledge and further guidance of ISA member countries. During each Summit, we try and include the best practices from diverse ecosystems where solarization has impacted or has shown the potential to impact the mankind based on empirical data. The theme of today's Summit is solarization of international airports. We have senior management representatives and experts from international aviation arena to deliberate on future prospects in this field. Before we start, I request all the speakers to kindly adhere to their given time slots, as people from across the time zones have registered to benefit from this discussion and hear each one of you. Without taking any time further, I would now request Dr. M. Ravikant, Regional Coordinator, International Solar Alliance, to welcome our esteemed guests and experts. Over to Ravikant, sir, please.
Thank you, Megha. आप सभी को मेरा सादर प्रणाम. My greetings to you all on behalf of International Solar Alliance, and I consider it as a privilege to welcome you all for this webinar. As you are all aware, Sustainable Development Goals, also known as global goals, are the blueprint to achieve a better future for all. SDGs address the global challenges we face, including climate change and environmental degradation. ISA is sincerely and seriously working for achieving SDGs, which are interlinked for quality living. Kerala, with 14 districts as southern tip of India, is known for its triple bottom line parameters, has many firsts to its credit. You all know that Cochin International Airport Limited became the first in the world to be entirely powered by solar energy with energy efficiency and self-sufficiency. Following the success of Sial, some more airports are already beginning to realize the benefits of solar energy, and I understand that globally, 8 international airports now completely run on solar energy. For example, 15,000 solar panels were recently installed at Dubai International Airport. In US, 183-acre farm at Indianapolis International Airport with 87,478 solar panels provide 25 megawatt of renewable energy for the region's electric grid. Denver International Airport has a 56-acre, 10 megawatt solar farm with 42,614 solar panels and many more like this, which we can hear from our expert speakers and specialist presenters. Since much more needs to be done on the chosen subject, we joined together virtually across the globe with more than 350 registrants to discuss solarization on airports, with several experts for outlining a roadmap of developing a few models on this mandate and hoping the deliberations to be meaningful and fruitful. According to Airports Council International World Airport Traffic Report, there are currently 17,678 commercial airports in the world. The figure rises to 41,788 if we include all civilian and military aerodromes. In India, there are 486 total airports, airstrips, flying schools, and military bases available in the country. 123 airports with scheduled commercial flights, including 34 international airports. The aviation industry accounts for about 2% of global carbon emissions, according to the Natural Resources Defense Council, which is working to monitor and encourage the airlines on their path to making significant changes that could have a lasting environmental impact. The IATA, International Air Transport Association, and ICAO have outlined some additional climate ambitions for the airline industry. And as a result of this, many airlines have come forward to focus on biofuels and solar energy. Solar energy is catching up everywhere locally, and ISA is reaching the unreached and serving the unserved globally. Besides airways, railways also is focusing on solar energy. For example, South Central Railway's Nandyal-Erraguntla section in Guntakal division has been declared as the first solar section in India that has all of its stations in one stretch powered by solar panels. Guwahati railway station runs on solar energy. Together as stakeholders, we can do many more things to accelerate solar energy I am welcoming you all and thanking you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Director General, International Solar Alliance, His Excellency Mr. Upendra Tripathi, to kindly set the context for the 30th Sun Meet and workshop on solarization of international airports. Over to DG, sir, please.
Excellencies and participants, particularly the CMD of Cochin International Airport Limited, Mr. Vijay Kurian, Joint Secretary from Civil Aviation, who is representing the Secretary of Civil Aviation, Mr. Amber Dubey, Mr. Sriran Roy, and Mr. Arun Mishra, who is from Singapore, the regional office, and Mr. Jose Thomas, who is making the presentation for the second time, I suppose. Well, to go back, the journey started like this. I happened to be the secretary to the Government of India in the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy before I joined here. And the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi, had a target for airports. And when in 2015-16, we told the airports that please go for, solar panels, solar electricity. Some people said it was not very safe. There were safety concerns. Some people said that it spoils the aesthetics of the place. But that is long way gone now. You find so many airports, as my colleague Ravi read out, world over. I mean, some 17,670 airports. But what is more important is that if you look at the combined potential of these airports, it comes to 40 gigawatt. So without compromising with the aesthetics, without compromising with the security or flight security, we can easily exploit 40 gigawatt of solar energy in the airports put together. Now, what we propose in this, it is not merely a webinar of AISA where we are trying to get the, all airports together. We essentially started with a visit of 48 ambassadors and high commissioners located in India. That was almost a year back. We, thanks to Mr. Kurian, we visited CIL and they're all impressed. The idea came from them. The idea came from the high commissioners and ambassadors of various countries located in Delhi, who visited, of course, first we went to Bangalore to see the Pavagoda, huge solar park of those days it was 2,500 megawatt. They might have added more in the meantime. And from Bangalore, we went to Cochin to see this airport. It had got the UNEP award those days. And it was very impressive. So the high commissioners and ambassadors suggested that why don't we combine the the managing directors and general managers of 50 airports, and if they can actually take it further and forward. So what we plan now is that AISA will put up a small study, a global study of the airports, this aggregation of the 40 gigawatt demand. Now, if 4 or 5 airports come together, perhaps the cost of solarization will come down. And if we can combine the demand of 40 gigawatt, it'll further come down a lot. That way, AISA, although we don't have membership fees, in fact, it's a unique organization so far, but we can indirectly help the airports to go for a solar push or a solar drive. And at least we presume that with our efforts, we can aggregate the demand of all the airports in the world. The cost will come down by 25 to 30%. And that will be the AISA's contribution. So how do we plan to proceed henceforth? We will collaborate with, we will dial up a small, airport cell with the help of the host country, that is India. And we will collaborate or take into as partners the various international agencies we have, starting from International Civil Aviation Organization, IATA, Air Transport Action Group, Airport Council International, and all other international bodies. With their help, we'll form a small group. It's not a committee or a task force or anything, but we can name it if you so like. The idea will be how to take this idea to all the airports which are still not solarized, and how to bring down the cost, because we know particularly during COVID times when many people rang up saying that, look, our airport is closed. And we do understand that, but at the same time, given the urgency of the climate challenge, we all have to come together and do things, because if you look at the investment globally, the investment in the solar sector has come down almost by 22% compared to the year before. to some $130 billion to $108 billion or so. Hence, to conclude my point, we are very thankful to the high commissioners and ambassadors who gave this idea when they visited CIL. We are thankful to CIL for having given this bright example to showcase to the world. And we propose to form a small group so that we will try how to minimize the cost of solarization of the airports through demand aggregation, and how to do a potential study for finding out this 40 gigawatt potential, where does it exist and how we can move further. For the aggregation part, we will take the help of EESL, the Energy Efficiency Services Limited, who is helping us to aggregate demand for 272,000 solar pumps from 22 countries, to aggregate demand of 49 million home power systems. That is the example we will follow. With this, a lot of thanks to my colleagues who have put in this place. In fact, we have already 183 participants, except the World Solar Technology Congress, where we had got some 26,000 registered participants and more than 10,000 participants per se. It is one of the highly attended webinars, and I'm sure, please rest assured that we are going to follow it up. And my colleague Ravi, who was earlier heading HOODCO as CMD, he will be championing this drive to aggregate demand for the solar airports, and he will collaborate with all the international organizations to form a small committee which will lead this drive further and forward. Thank you all.
Thank you, DG sir. Starting in 1993, the Cochin International Airports Limited were the first public-private partnership project in the aviation sector in the host country. In 2015, the Cochin International Airport became the first international airport to be completely powered by solar energy. The UN has honored the Cochin International Airport with Champions of the Earth Award for being the first airport in the world to be completely powered by solar energy. We are honored to have with us today Mr. Vijay Kurian, Managing Director, Cochin International Airport. I would request Mr. Kurian to kindly address our esteemed guests, please. Over to Mr. Vijay Kurian, please.
Thank you. Mr. Upendra Tripathi, the Director General of ISA, Mr. Dubey, Mr. Arun Mishra, Mr. Ravikant, and other dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely honored to address this August gathering on the occasion of the 30th ISA Sun Meet. As the Managing Director of the world's first airport, fully powered by solar energy, we have had close relationship with the ISA over the years, and I thank ISA for inviting me to talk on the theme of solarization of international airports. Before coming to the topic, let me introduce our airport to you. We are the first project in the Indian aviation sector enthusiastically experimented and successfully implemented the idea of public-private partnership. We built an airport with the financial participation of common public and the companies who could be the future beneficiaries of the project. The Cochin International Airport, or CIL, was started with a meager sum of rupees 20,000 or $270. We could make this airport operational in 5 years' time, spending just around 300 crores or $40 million. Today, we have 19,000 investors from 30 countries in the company, and we have been paying dividend since 2003, 2004. And already we have paid around 282% as dividend to our shareholders. We handle around 10 million passengers a year. Last year, we completed a quarter of century in existence, and I consider it as a privilege that I've been given the opportunity to lead this organization for over 80 years. We became the world's first airport fully powered by solar energy in August 2015. Though initially it seemed a small step put forward by one of the hundreds of airports in the country, it received global attention within weeks. Since then, we have been facilitating high-profile visits from around the globe and heeding to the request from dozens of institutions for collaborative support. United Nations High Power Team, led by UNEP head, Mr. Erik Solheim, visited us in May 2018 and envoys of 40 countries paid visit in May 2019, as mentioned by Mr. Tripathi. This was coordinated by ISA. We'll be happy to offer our fullest support for all airports of the member countries of ISA for accomplishing solarization and green energy positivity. The technical details of the project will be presented by our Executive Director, Mr. Jose Thomas, in one of the forthcoming sessions today. CIL shares the collective ambition of ISA members to undertake innovative and concerted efforts to reduce the cost of finance and cost of technology for immediate deployment of competitive solar generation. Cochin Airport could materialize 400 megawatts of total installed capacity by spending around $1,750 million. That's about 25 million USD, which could break even in 5 years' time. United Nations rightly inferred our cost innovative innovations and precisely mentioned about it in their official communique while bestowing us the Champion of the Earth Award 2018. I quote, as the pace of society continues to increase, the world's first fully powered airport is proof positive that green business is good business, unquote. We are delighted by the fact that we received the prestigious award along with our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, and French President, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, who had pioneered the idea of the formation of ISA. We all know that global aviation sector is one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse emission. It burns approximately 5 million barrels of oil a day, releasing more than 700 million metric tons of emissions annually. I believe the airports all over the world have a great responsibility in mitigating impact of climate change caused by the aviation sector. A mid-sized airport such as Cochin is able to offset approximately 400,000 metric tons of emissions annually just by utilizing the roof spaces and the vacant lands. We are pleased to learn that 38 airports in India have already initiated solar projects in their premises. As of November 2020, the total peak installed capacity of Indian airports stand at 124.5 megawatts. There are more than 1,000 mid-sized airports in the world. If all of them follow the example set by Cochin Airport, by utilizing the vast areas earmarked for future expansion, it will be helpful in reducing more than 400 million tons of greenhouse emissions annually. Let me conclude by extending our support and cooperation to all the member countries and airports to achieve the ambitious plan of ISA, that is to work towards the development of appropriate benchmarks, to facilitate resource assessments, and to support research facilities to encourage innovative and affordable applications of solar energy. Thank you.
Thank you for your address, sir. I would now request Mr. Amber Dubey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India, to present the inaugural address on behalf of His Excellency Mr. Pradeep Singh Kharola, Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India. Over to Mr. Dubey, please.
Very good afternoon, everyone. It's a matter of honor and pride for us to be addressing such an august audience. I'm a very poor substitute for my boss, Mr. Pradeep Kharola, who's the Civil Aviation Secretary. Let me also confess that my knowledge of solar is extremely limited. Perhaps I will be the least knowledgeable person in this entire August gathering. So I'll be here more as a student and as a listener, and also to commit on behalf of MOCA that whatever help is required for this great initiative, we are completely committed. India itself is at the forefront of the Solar Alliance, and on the aviation side, we are extremely cost conscious and energy conscious. Whatever help is required will be given from the ministry side. That's what my secretary, Mr. Kharola, wanted me to convey to the entire group. I'll not take too much time other than just congratulating, of course, Cochin, which is absolutely the leader. They're leaders not just in solar, but in aviation and even in PPP. Mr. Kurian is someone we all look up to. Kerala is something the entire nation looks up to. Small state with, I think, just about 4 or 5 crore population, and 4 major international airports with very high traffic, very high share of international traffic. The way it's been managed is fantastic. PPP, they brought in PPP at a time when PPP was still just a 3-letter word in India, and it's been done very, very well. In fact, the largest states, I mean, my own state, UP, with almost 5 times or 6 times Kerala's population, struggles to get even one international airport up and running the way they are running down south in Kerala. So there's lots that we can learn from Cochin in aviation overall, in airport management, and ultimately also in PPP, and then finally in solar. They're completely 100% carbon neutral. They actually produce more. I think it's about 40 megawatt. Please correct me, Mr. Kurian, if I'm wrong. I think about 40 megawatts.
Very true, very true.
And,
you're right.
You're supplying to the grid, sir. I myself had a pleasure of working with Cochin Airport as an advisor, as a consultant with under Mr. Kurian, and KPMG teams have worked there and done lots of projects on the regulatory side. So there's a special bond which I also share, and lots of good memories about Cochin city per se, and also the airport and Mr. Kurian, who's always been a guiding light. Okay, on behalf on our side, as we all know, Airports Authority has a very clear mandate to go completely solar. All our PPP airports also, Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and now 6 more airports have been given out to the Adanis. Everybody is extremely conscious, and since we do sit on a huge amount of space, of course, we have to be careful about the air navigation interference, the glare part, and also DGCA approval. So there are some complexities, but I think we are all, as a community, between the airports, between the ministry and DGCA, CISF, we're all committed to make this a success. In terms of numbers, I'm told at Airports Authority, we already at 50 airports, at 50 locations, they already have the solar setup put up. 8 are in work in progress, and through NTPC, they have NVVN as the subsidiary of NTPC. There are 11 more projects which are underway. So we are looking at almost 69, 70 odd airports where we'll go solar. And the total capacity, 43 megawatts, is already done. So again, this gives us a good perspective that with 50 airports, we're still talking about 43 megawatt, whereas one airport under Mr. Kurian alone is doing 40 megawatts. So I think there's a lot to learn and a lot to catch up. I mean, we love this healthy competition with Cochin. Work in process, another 17 megawatt, and proposed projects under NTPC is about another 6. So that adds up to about 67 megawatts. Sounds good, but we're not very happy. We want it to be much more than that. And our commitment is to, under AI, is to hit about 80 megawatts. So again, 80 megawatts by 2022 against 40 megawatts already done by Mr. Kurian's airport in way back in August 2015, 5 years back. So while these numbers sound good, but everything has to be relative. So if we compete with Cochin, we're all working for the same nation, but it's I'm going to be communicate back to my colleagues in AI that we should keep a photograph of Cochin in every room and try and compete with them and do at least 5 times of Cochin if we look at the number, if you look at the traffic numbers. So this is where we are. I'll stop here. And as I said, I would rather be a student and a listener and a facilitator than spouting from some notes which my hardworking team has given me. Okay, so over to you, Megha.
Thank you, Mr. Dubey. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Our next speaker for today is Ms. Reena Rai, General Manager, Airports Authority of India. The Airports Authority of India, Excellencies, manages 137 airports across India, which includes international airports, customs airports, domestic airports, and domestic civil enclaves at defense airfields. Important interventions and collaborations by AAI has given India the distinction of being a technologically advanced country in the region and also globally. Ms. Rai would be making a presentation on solarization of international airports globally today in this Sun Meet. The floor is yours, Ms. Rai.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. It's a very good evening and good afternoon, Joint Secretary, sir, MOCA Director General Sir, ISA Arun Mishra Sir, ICAO Dr. M. Ravikant Sir, ISA, presenters, participants, colleagues and friends. This also includes CMD Cochin Airports. I am Reena Rai. GM Electrical has been given this opportunity to showcase the journey of solarization of AI airports in this decade. I am grateful to Chairman Sir and Member Planning Sir, including Dr. M. Ravikant Sir, who has given and assigned this responsibility to me. And with this, now I'll be sharing the screen to showcase the journey of solarization of Airports Authority of India's airports. A brief introduction about AI is that it's a mini Ratna Category 1 central public sector undertaking under the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and it manages 137 airports across the nation. It is the sole air navigation service provider and operator of majority of Indian airports. AI is constantly endeavoring with all the required programs and SOPs to meet the commitment to conserve environment, resources, and to reduce the adverse impact on society, community, and ecosystem. It was a commitment by Airports Authority of India to Government of India to develop solar system for capacity of 46.7 megawatt peak by 2021-22. At present, AI has already achieved 43.36 megawatt capacity and making efforts to achieve around 80 megawatt by 2022. Considering the cost involved in procuring solar power or generating, we have done certain analysis and we are showcasing our journey depending upon the cost also. So AI, the database is of 1819 and AI has consumed approximately 470 million units and it's costed 416 crore during 1819. Our two airports, Chennai and Kolkata, are the major passenger handlers, more than 22 million. And the units consumed are 83 and 90 million units respectively. It's the major airports. This energy costed around 25% of our operating cost. And to conserve the energy, and AI has taken sustainable development airport growth. We have to conserve the energy and we are taking up the steps for energy management. This included to minimize the carbon footprints and to maximize the savings. AI has taken conscious decision to adopt green energy utilization through solar power plants. Now my next slide shows how the journey of solarization in AI took place. We started in the year 2012 and 13 with very small capacity, and we operated through our OPEX model, and we installed a very smaller capacity at 5 of airports. Then we further progressed through CAPEX model, and it had net metering and captive mode also. Now we are going towards solar power purchase through open access, through PPP with the independent power producers, through Government of India Central Public Sector Undertaking Scheme. When we were putting up only 100 to 250 kilowatt way back in 2012 and 13, the unit rate was very high. And this led us to think AI to move to CAPEX model because we had the land and we had the fund to invest. Now the solar power plants under CAPEX model are installed at various airports. In addition to rooftop and ground mounted, we are installing in the operational area the ground mounted solar power plants, and the maximum capacity which we have installed in 2017 is of 15 megawatt, which is in the operational area of Kolkata airport, and this is installed in 67.5 acres of land within 6 plots along the runway after taking clearances from DGCA, fulfilling glare analysis and operational requirement of ATC and NAVEDS. As per State Electricity Regulatory Commission, we are facing certain issues, as the net metering policy is either 50 to 80% of sanctioned load or 1 megawatt, whichever is less. So whenever the net metering things are coming up, we are taking special permissions from the respective authorities for installing more than 1 megawatt solar power plants. And we could analyze that the saving per unit under net metering is approximately 5 INR per unit. Solar power plants under captive mode. AI has also moved towards where, like in the bigger airports, we didn't have the land to install the solar power plants. So we have taken another step by going under captive mode. And at major airports, wherever substantial load but no spare land, captive solar power plants are planned at other airports having surplus land to feed such major airports within same state. The example is a captive power plant of intrastate of capacity 8 megawatt at Hubli Airport is under progress to feed other airports in Karnataka state, and this project will likely to be completed by 2021. Now, the another example is of purchasing solar power through open access. AI has entered into power purchase agreement with independent power producers to purchase 23.6 million units per year through open access mode for 10 years at Chennai Airport. The saving per unit on this mode is also quite substantial, and we are able to save 2.27 rupees per unit, translating into benefit of around more than 5 crores per annum. Again, the next stage which AI has taken moved further is an MOU has been signed with the NVVN. This is a wholly subsidiary of NTPC, and in a move towards further exploring alternative solutions for generating green energy at airports, AI has signed an MOU with NVVN, a subsidiary of NTPC Limited, for setting up solar power plants at AI airports. In the initial phase, NVVN shall be taking up the projects at airports in Tamil Nadu and Rajasthan states. The solar capacity required at airports in Tamil Nadu and Rajasthan states is around 55 megawatt and 8 megawatt respectively, and this will make these the airports in these states 100% solar powered airports. NVVN, this is NTPC Vidyut Vyapar Nigam, will also take up the installation of solar power plants at rooftop and ground mounted solar plants of capacity 6.32 megawatt at 11 airports. Further to move, NVVN will supply green power under Government of India CPSU scheme. This is Central Power for Public Sector Undertaking scheme for major power consuming airports. The tentative landed cost is approximately 2.7 per unit, bringing huge monetary benefits to AI. This CPSU model is of solar power generation. It's a government producer scheme for setting up photovoltaic power project. The scheme is aimed at setting up 12,000 megawatt grid connected solar PV power projects under the government producers with VGF support for self-use or government entities, either directly or through DISCOM. This is our chairman, AI's chairman's initiative, and NTPC has agreed to give the power on this CPSU scheme, which we will be benefited hugely with this scheme. Now I'll be showing overview of solarization in Airports Authority of India. This is a pictorial view of wherever in some of the airports we have installed our solar projects. We'll be showcasing it. And to summarize the solar power plant summary, they are at 50 locations. We have already installed ground mounted and rooftop solar power plants, and at 8 locations works are in progress. And through NVVN, leave apart the open access and through trading this green energy, there will be 11 airports where NVVN will be installing and at a suitable tariff selling the power to solar power to AI. We have faced challenges during our 15 megawatt solar power plant installation at Kolkata Airport. The challenges were manifold, starting from site selection, mitigating all obstructions related with net metering, glint and glare for ATC, fire, pilots point of view, interference from NAVEDS installations, etc. But we could successfully commission this plant in October 2017, and this plant is generating 20 million units, and it is one of its kind, I think, because in the operational area, nowhere in India any solar power plants have been installed, if I'm correct. Otherwise, I can be corrected. And we are showcasing the savings which we are going to achieve. And with 70 million units we are going to generate and could be achieving 40 crores of INR. The way forward for solar plants in airports is that AI aims to make all its major airports 100% solar powered. This is the aim of our management, and to fulfill this, we would like to follow various models so that wherever airports have no land, and due to capping of capacity of solar power generation by state electricity regulatory commissions, solar energy shall be procured through open access, so that we will be able to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. AI is also moving forward in its journey towards exploring alternative solutions for generating green energy at its airports, making them self-sustainable and ultimately becoming carbon neutral airports. Nevertheless, AI intends to achieve the installation of 80 megawatt peak solar power generation by 2022 to support Government of India initiative for meeting the renewable energy targets with considerable economic benefits to the country. We have showcased our journey, and as Joint Secretary Sir has rightly said, that we stand nowhere in comparison with Cochin International Airport. But yes, the beginning is very small, but we aim to achieve that the airports shall become 100% solar powered in near future, and for that AI is targeting. Now I would like to showcase a video clip of our very prestigious project at Kolkata Airport.
रीना जी थोड़ा वॉल्यूम बढ़वा दीजिए इसका.
Okay, sir.
There is no volume.
ma'am.
I thanks everybody for patience hearing about our small initiatives on solarization of AI airports. I really am grateful that I have been given this opportunity by the management, and this I have showcased all the initiatives taken by AI so far. And with this, I just end my presentation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Rai. Thank you for taking us through the journey of solarization in AAI led by innovations. AAI has moved forward, and we truly believe that AI will be able to overcome the limitations that you just highlighted, be it land related, net metering related, glint and glare from ATC pilot point of view or installation point of view. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Moving forward, Excellencies, the International Civil Aviation Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations. ICAO is funded and directed by 193 national governments to support their diplomacy and cooperation in air transport. The ICAO provides governments with the best results and advise as they collectively and diplomatically establish new international standards and recommend practices for civil aviation internationally. We have with us today Mr. Arun Mishra, Regional Director, APAC Region, International Civil Aviation Organization. I would now request Mr. Mishra to please make the presentation on solarization of international airports globally. Over to Mr. Mishra, please.
Thank you, Dr. Megha, for the introduction. Mr. Upendra Tripathi, Director General of ISA, Mr. Ravi Kant, Regional Coordinator of ISA, Mr. Ambar Dubey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India, Mr. Vijay Kurian, CMD of Cochin International Airport, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would first like to compliment ISA for organizing this very important workshop on solarization of Indian international airports, and thank ISA for providing me this opportunity to share the overview on ICAO's work on environmental protection, in particular on recent developments in the global solarization of international airports. Before I begin, please allow me to take this opportunity to thank each one of you for your invaluable contribution and commitment to the environmental sustainability of international civil aviation. Multilateralism has never been so important as this year, and your solidarity in difficult times, such as this pandemic, for the aviation sector is indeed the most valuable asset to our international community, working hand in hand to rebuild for a better future. Over the recent months at ICAO, we have recorded an unprecedented pace of environment-driven innovations, resulting in an impressive number of new initiatives coming forward that could significantly reduce emissions from the sector. It is remarkable to see the pace of progress being made in the level of involvement and commitment of all our stakeholders towards a green recovery for the aviation sector. In September 2020, ICAO organized a stock-taking seminar on aviation in-sector carbon dioxide emission reduction with more than 1,000 participants. This meeting took stock of the progress on aviation in-sector carbon dioxide emission reductions on technology, operations, and fuels to discover evolutionary and disruptive innovations and also hear about net zero emissions commitment and roadmaps. More recently, in November 2020, IQ organized the Aviation Green Recovery Seminar to provide a holistic view of potential opportunities for aviation community to take concrete measures to reduce its carbon footprint as it seeks to build back better. I invite you to check the recordings from these events available online at the ICAO TV platform. Within these initiatives covering aircraft operations and renewable energy sources, the use of solar energy at airports represents an important key solution for changes towards a greener future. Airports make an ideal location for solar panels with wide open spaces on the ground and large terminal roofs. More than 100 airports worldwide today already make use of solar panels to produce clean energy for powering their terminals and sometimes even to contribute to the city grid. Kochi International Airport became the first in the world to be entirely powered by solar energy and energy sufficient. And I'm confident that this example will be followed soon by many others. I, in my previous avatar, had opportunity to work with Kochi Airport as DGCA, as well as Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation. And I was very impressed by the work they have been doing as a leading pioneer public-private sector airport operator. So thank you, Mr. Kurian. For some time, quite some time actually, ICAO has been promoting the use of solar energy at airports. In 2013, ICAO and European Union launched a joint assistance project on capacity building for CO2 mitigation from international civil aviation to 14 states in Africa and Caribbean regions. Under the partnership, ICAO implemented solar at gate trial projects in Cameroon and Kenya airports to help reduce carbon emissions produced by aircraft during the ground operations while aircraft is parked at the gate. This month, the phase 2 of the ICAO EU joint project was just launched to further support additional 10 African states. In 2014, ICAO also established a partnership with UNDP with financing from the Global Environment Facility to support member states' requests for assistance in reducing their CO2 emissions from international civil aviation. One of the main deliverables under this partnership was the Solar at Gate pilot project at 2 Jamaican airports, which demonstrated how this project could be replicated in other small island developing states. Interesting to note is that while focusing the pilot project on reality of solar opportunity for small island development states, this climate change mitigation infrastructure also embedded a climate change adaptation measure as it was designed to withstand a Category 5 hurricane. All these solar power projects were implemented through the partnership with ICAO, aiming to demonstrate the maturity of solar technologies through the assessment of cost and benefit, and also taking into account specific circumstances of the beneficiary states. Most importantly, they serve as a model for other airports to follow on a larger scale. It's important to note that these emission reduction activities fall within the framework of the ICAO State Action Plan Initiative, which enables all ICAO member states to establish a strategy on climate change for the international aviation sector, involving all interested stakeholders at national level. The action plans developed by states in accordance with ICAO guidance can include a plan for improvement of airports, such as the use of solar energy. In addition, the action plans can also include specific requests for technical and financial assistance for the planned mitigation measures. In this workshop, you will definitely hear about a lot of interesting initiatives taken by various airports around the world for harnessing the solar energy at the airports. While Cochin Airport has taken a leadership role in this area, there are many similar initiatives taken by airports in India, as we heard, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, and Philippines, to name a few. In this regard, I would like to mention about the various environmental initiatives at the airports undertaken by our close partners, Airports Council International, which includes an annual Green Airport Recognition Award. In fact, this year, the ACI awarded the highest platinum recognition to Rajiv Gandhi Hyderabad International Airport for their effective water management. You will hear more about this ACI initiatives during the presentation later in the workshop. While we can see a lot of work being done at various airports around the world, we have just touched the tip of the iceberg. And as Mr. Tripathi mentioned, there are 40 gigawatts of electricity to be tapped, and we are talking about megawatts. So there is still a lot of opportunities and potential in this area, which we need to tap by strengthening our cooperation and considering all the recent innovations, exploring potential opportunities to building partnerships and developing a greener flying future. To conclude, ITO stands committed to working with ISA and similar organizations, as well as states and airports, to promote increasing use of solar energy at the airports. I wish the workshop success in achieving its objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was heartening to hear ICAO's work in Africa and Caribbean regions and in Cameroon and Guinea, and also with UNDP. And as you rightly said, evolutionary and disruptive innovations are going to be the measures required to reduce the carbon emissions globally. With this, we move forward to the next item on the agenda. We have heard from Kurian sir about CIAL already. Before I invite our next speaker for today, Mr. Jose Thomas, Executive Director, Cochin International Airport, I would request my IT colleagues to please play the short video on Cochin International Airport as a pretext to Mr. Thomas' presentation. The video can be played, please.
Give me a moment.
Megha, Bimal, the video will be followed by the presentation.
Sure.
Okay.
So I would then request Mr. Jose Thomas, Executive Director, Cochin International Airport, to please make the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies. Greetings from Cochin International Airport. Let me, at the outset, let me thank ISA for giving me an opportunity to make a presentation on the green initiatives of Cochin International Airport. Let me straight away go into my the presentation. During 2012, Kerala State Electricity Board, which was providing us with power, suddenly increased our tariff from ₹4 per unit to ₹7 per unit. Sorry for the interruption. During 2012, the Kerala State Electricity Board, which was providing us with power, suddenly increased our power tariff from ₹4 per unit to ₹7 per unit. It was almost double. So that was actually a blessing in disguise, because that was a time when our managing director wanted us to put up a captive solar power plant on the rooftop of our international terminal building. Our first entry into solar PV sector was during March 2013, when we put up a 100 kilowatt plant on the rooftop of the international arrival block. The production from this plant was a meager 400 units a day, which was not even 1% of the requirement those days. In the same year, in November 2013, we commissioned a bigger solar plant of 1 megawatt, which was partly at the rooftop of the aircraft maintenance hangar. The performance of both these plants, the 1 megawatt plant and the 100 kilowatt plant, were evaluated and monitored for more than 1 year. And we set up a bigger solar plant of 12 megawatt capacity in an area of 45 acres, which was earmarked for the future expansion of the cargo complex. The objective then was to become a power neutral airport. The work of the 12 megawatt plant, which is shown in the photograph, it was completed on the 18th of August 2015 within a short span of about 6 months. After the completion of the project, we became the first airport in the world to be fully powered by solar energy. The total investment for this plant in 2015 was around 62 crores, approximately 10 million, which was, as on date, we have almost recovered the entire amount through the savings on power bills. The power requirement of Cochin Airport is constantly increasing because of our various expansion taking place at the airport. So from a solar capacity of 13.1 megawatt during 2015, we have now increased our capacity to 40 megawatts. But we still hope that our power requirement will increase further. So we have already taken steps to increase our solar capacity to 52 megawatts by 2021. Our average daily requirement of power at Cochin Airport is around 150,000 units, and our average daily generation of power is approximately 160,000 units, which means we have a surplus of around 10,000 on an average every day. So what we do is we produce our entire requirement of power for 24 hours during the solar power producing period, that is during daytime, and whatever is excess is injected into the grid, exported into the grid through a net metering facility provided and banking facility provided by the Kerala State Electricity Board. And we are allowed to withdraw the excess power during night when solar power is not available. We don't have any storage battery. We store our excess power in the grid. This table gives the comparative cost of installation over the last 6 years. We started our project in 2013, megawatt scale project that costed us around 70 million per megawatt in 2013, which came down to 52 million in 2015, and again reduced to 43 million in 2017. And our latest tender in 2019 went for 32 million. So over the last 6 years, the cost of installation has almost become half. This is the solar carport, which has a capacity of 5.1 megawatt in front of our terminal buildings. This is the biggest carport in India, which provide solar roof to approximately 2,600 cars. And it is also the biggest solar carport in any airport in the world. This is the aerial view of a 3 megawatt plant, which has been installed in the future expansion areas for the aircraft maintenance hangars. As and when we require this land for putting up more hangars, we can easily remove the solar panels and put it on top of the hangars which will come up in the area. That way we make sure that no land is kept, future expansion lands are kept idle at the airport, idle and unprotected. This is a 2 megawatt plant which we have installed just outside the operational boundary wall. Because of the proximity to the runway and also because of security reasons, we cannot have any construction in this land. It's a 40-meter wide strip land. So we have installed a 2 megawatt plant. We have a 18-hole golf course at the airport where we have a number of water bodies. 2 of these water bodies we have made use of for putting up 450 kilowatt floating solar plant. We have used French technology, floats, HDPE floats with a French technology for the first time in India. This is the aerial view of the floating solar plant at the golf course. We have also made use of road embankments, which cannot be used for any other useful purpose, for putting up a small plant of around 200 kilowatt capacity. Even stormwater drains at airport can be used for putting up small plants, as this figure shows. We have also done a little bit of experiments by placing the solar panels in the east and west directions. Side by side, we have done experimental project by installing 3 129 kilowatt peak plants side by side. One was a south-facing, conventional south-facing solar plant. One was an east and west-facing solar plant, which is installed in the shape of a roof. And the third one was another 129 kilowatt peak plant, which has east-west tracking system. So at the end of 1 year, we compared the power generation of these 3 plants, and we found that the east-west tracking plant was producing about 8 to 10% more than the other 2 plants. but it was requiring about double the area of what was required for a normal south-facing plant. But between the south-facing plant and the east and west-facing plant, we found that the variation in power generation was not very negligible, because we are closer to the equator. Our latitude was around 10 degrees. The south-facing plants generated more power when the sun was in the south, whereas the east and west-facing panels produced more power when the sun was directly above or moved towards north. So overall, if you take the annual total production, both were almost the same. So I think in locations which are closer to the equator, it doesn't really matter whether you place solar panels in the south direction or in the east or west direction. It doesn't make much of a difference. So this has given us confidence to purchase about 34 acres of land in a hilly terrain in North Kerala, where the land was comparatively cheaper. So in this hilly terrain, the land is in different, the orientations are different. Some locations or some terrain is sloping towards south, some are sloping towards east. So we have placed panels in all directions in this plant, and the work is going to be work in progress, and it will be completed by January 2021. We have also successfully planted organic farming vegetables in between the solar panels. There is in the south facing solar panels, there is a gap between the solar panel arrays, so which can be successfully utilized for planting vegetables. Planting vegetables have several advantages, like it cools the panels, thereby enhancing power generation. It arrests excessive weed growth between the panels, and which can cause shading of the panels. And the water which is used for cleaning the panels during summer can be used for irrigating the vegetables also. And it provides an additional revenue, although not very substantial, but we are able to provide employment to about a dozen people on a regular basis. We have, the last 4 years, we have been successfully doing organic cultivation between the solar panels, and we have harvested something like 100 tons of organic vegetables during the last 4 years. So as on 31st October 2020, the solar PV plants at Cochin Airport have produced approximately 180 million units of solar power worth 1,200 million Indian rupees. This has avoided carbon dioxide emissions by more than 120,000 metric tons. And this is the photograph of our managing director receiving the United Nations Champion of the Award in 2018. And our honorable Prime Minister has tweeted that the airport is an inspiration for several other airports in how we can leverage the power of solar energy for a better tomorrow. And before concluding, let me show you a video of our solar plants.
I'm just sharing it. Mr. Dost, this is Bimal. You need to check on the sound box before you share.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the technical presentation and showing us this insightful video. This was really informative, truly a treat. For the interest of the attendees, all the presentations will be available on ISA website soon after we conclude this meeting. With this, we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the management of the international airports have become increasingly sophisticated over a period of time. Detailed technical standards have been developed to ensure safety and common coding systems implemented to provide global consistency. Airport management has to take into account a wide range of factors to ensure safety and smooth operations. That goes without saying. Our next speaker for today, Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, Vice President, Engineering and Maintenance, Bangalore International Airport Limited, BIAL, will discuss various models on smart solar energy management at airports. Over to Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan from BIAL, please.
Honorable dignitaries, my industry colleagues and friends from global fraternity, a warm good evening from Lakshmi Narayan. I'm Vice President from Bangalore International Airport. I'm thoroughly speechless after seeing the presentation and the video from Cochin International Airport. However, I'll try to do my bit on what we have done in our airport. I'm sharing my screen. Hope my screen is visible to all. Before going into what we have done in solar energy, I'll just take a minute on what is our intended sustainability goals at Bangalore International Airport. Few years back, with our management, with our board, we have taken these ambitious goals that we will achieve power neutrality by end of 2020. We will become water positive by end of 2020. And also we'll be sending zero waste to landfill by 2021 and will treat the waste responsibly within our own premises. Now, for the forum, I'll be talking only about our power neutrality and then our initiatives related to solar. We have also started the journey in 2015 for having renewable energy footprint in the airport. What we have done is, before starting the process, we have internally discussed that what model is better suiting for Bangalore International Airport. We discussed various options. We talked about EPC model where we can invest and then we will select the best developer to associate with us for a long-term PPE or contract. Then we have taken out captive power generation under SPV where we can partner with somebody and co-invest. The last option what we have looked at is engage a long-term PPA with the identified developer, pay for the generation and consume the power as it generates. While we talked about the on-site solar, this option, we have also looked at off-site solar options as the Karnataka's solar policy at that point of time in 2015-16 was one of the best in the country, where they have allowed the generation happening elsewhere, and then you can utilize it at the consumer premises without any kind of cross-subsidy charges and billing banking charges. Keeping that in option, we have further described our evaluation criteria. In the evaluation criteria, while we have all the technical parameters related to all the efficiencies, etc., we have considered our impact as levelized cost of energy over a period of 20 years. At that point of time, we have taken a period of 20 years only for our solar PPA contract in mind. And while in the open access, we have considered only levelized cost of energy into consideration. For the on-site solar, apart from levelized cost of energy, we have also looked at it, what is the efficiency of the plant which is put in, how much they are occupying, or at what short space they are able to generate more energy. Because it is possible that somebody who is giving you at a lower cost may not be generating adequately, or the plant's deterioration over a period of time could be higher. So we looked at these options, had a combined effort. I must say that, WRI helped us in doing this evaluation apart from our own team. With this, we started the process. We went with multiple tender options. The result of this is on your screen. In May 2016, we had our first rooftop solar of 0.5 megawatt. It is on all our electrical, power stations, air conditioning plant roof, pump station roof, etc. and all. Next, in the same period, we started interacting, and like what Cochin Airport has done, of course, not up to that scale, we have invested on car park solar and then created a 440 kilowatt solar plant. Along with that, on the air side, a ground-mounted solar project of 2.5 megawatt was installed by us. Here, again, we have done a complete glare study, electromagnetic interference to the systems. We have engaged the Swiss firm to analyze the sun's movement for 365 days, the plant where it is to be positioned, with respect to the runway location for the pilots, and as well as for the ATC tower, will there be a glare factor for that. So this study is done just for the information of Ms. Reena Roy. I think in India, we have 3 or 4 airports which has got solar plant by the side of the runway, just close to the operation runway, in the sense around 175 to 200 meters.
Thank you for the information, Lakshmi. Thanks.
Thank you. Then further in August 2018, we have installed in all our concessionaires premises the rooftop solar, and we generated another 3.35 megawatt. So in all, close to 7 megawatt of plant was selected on site. Now, as I explained earlier, we have gone into off-site solar through a long-term PPA. The PPA term in that case also 20 megawatt. We have engaged with 2 agencies. The first agency, given us 20 million units per annum. Again, the installed capacity for them is around 14 megawatt, because our 20 million units has got a cushion of another 2 million they can supply. Similarly, another 20 million units is awarded. Both these units are functioning. So with this, what happened? Our grand solar footprint as of today is 50 million units. If I convert that into a megawatt scale, it is close to 37 megawatts. This is giving us continuously energy, which I'll be discussing in subsequent slides. These are some of the pictures what you are seeing. The first picture is our car park in front of the corporate office. Then there is a rooftop solar. The third one is on the field close to the runway. It is 200 meters from the runway center line, a 2.5 megawatt plant. Then the fourth one is in our concessionaires premises. Then in our own project office, we have installed it. Then the other buildings. Now, as I mentioned that, we have also understand the importance of monitoring these plants. So the SCADA systems are installed in this. Through the SCADA system, it is not only the energy generation monitored, it is also taking into consideration what is the PR and what is the irradiation levels and how the system behaves when it is dusty, when it is rainy, etc., and all were part of our analysis. Now, we have done that much, but our intended aim was by 2020, we want to go for power neutral. So what we have done is, I'm slightly digressing from the main topic of this ISA, that we did a distributed energy studies, which I feel extremely important for a complex airport operation, where the energy requirement is continuous and on 24 hours basis, then the energy is required. The distribution pattern of the airport energy is almost equal. In Karnataka, we have got the 3-part tariff kind of thing. There is peak hour, off-peak hour, and then normal hours. But when we have evaluated our load pattern, we found that in each of the categories, our load pattern is in the range of 35% to 33% kind of thing. So more or less, the load distribution pattern is equal for us. So what we did is, what kind of renewable energy mix will be good for us? And then we did this renewable energy study. And also we have taken into consideration our Terminal 2, which is likely to be commissioned in next 1 year's time, and our second runway, which is already commissioned up and running. When we have covered this, we worked out following options. The result of the study. We can have additional solar generation on-site as well off-site. We also accounted for what are all the risks associated with this. Today, one of the risks in the additional solar generation is that if there is the regulation happens, as we have multiple state regulatory authorities, sometimes it can be possible that beyond the generation hours, they will not be allow you to use the solar. I'm talking about banking, net metering, etc., and all, which is a topic to be discussed separately. We also looked at battery energy storage system, because our on-site solar system produces 7 megawatt, while currently we are using it totally as it generates. In future, we have multiple options for further generations. Will that battery energy storage system will help us or not? But currently, as everyone aware, the cost of the battery system is high, and probably with the technology developing year after year, in few years, this may be a viable factor for us. We have also digressed into looking at fuel cell-based energy on site. While it is not categorized under renewable energy, it gives you the base load in the category of clean energy, because the intended aim for all of us while going for solar energy, wind energy, or biomass, etc., to see that our carbon footprint is coming down. So we also looked at this option, but this is not yet executed at this point. Of course, the shortfall has to be through the state electricity board. So based on this study, what we have done is we have added another 20 million units wind power through open access PPA. Now, this is totaling to a RE footprint of 70 million units for us. With this, what is our contribution till date? Our energy footprint as of today, from starting in 2016 onwards, close to 140 million units. And this has resulted in close to 115,000 tons of CO2 emissions. As I mentioned earlier, our intended goal of energy neutral from January 2020 till October, we have utilized 95.5% of our energy is coming from renewable energy. And I'm very happy to inform you, for the month of November, we have achieved close to 99.5% of our energy coming from renewable energy footprint. Of course, as I mentioned, this is a combination of wind and solar put together. What is our future plans? We have also identified, using our master plan and then the buildings available, multiple areas where we can have on-site solar. We are going to have multi-level car park. We are going to have the barrack expansion. Other buildings are coming up. And also the biggest contributor will be our Terminal 1 roof and Terminal 2 roof. Terminal 1 roof till now we have not touched because of the system commissioned and then certain guarantee on the roof. We were waiting for that. Now we are in a position to go for installation in Terminal 1 roof. Terminal 1 roof and the upcoming Terminal 2 roof itself will give us close to 10 megawatt. So overall, the available capacity on site is in excess of 25 megawatt. In further, whatever buildings are coming, we can add the footprint to this. But while this, and also any shortfalls, we can go for open access power purchase agreement. But is it coming without any challenges? There are challenges. Last year, KERC has come out with an order for solar system. They call it as a utility-centric and consumer-centric business model. The model is a little complex in nature. It has got how that utility company will be involved, or the distribution companies will be involved in finalizing the vendors. Either they will be functioned as an aggregator, or if you are going for a third-party investment, how they will be supporting, and then there will be certain kind of fees, rental model, etc. And the order is available online. I would request the people to go through that. In that, the same case of every discoms are now coming with the regulatory authorities coming on the net meter and gross meter. There is confusion. There is no uniform policy across the country in this. Probably I would look at it that ISA, this could be one of the focus areas to address in the country as a whole, that what will be the policy on the net meter and gross meter and how it is going to be beneficial for the consumer, and then the consumer is motivated to invest more in the renewable. I will stop at this point, and then for any clarification, you can reach me on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So apart from an impressive vision and lessening carbon footprint, your work in offsite solar in villages leading to 37 megawatt of generation is very encouraging and inspiring, as this clearly aligns with our overarching goal of energy access. With this, we move to our next presentation. Next is the joint presentation on smart energy management solutions for airports with a focus on renewables. I would like to invite Mr. Rohit Nath, Advisor Infinitech Systems, and Mr. Stephen Grosjean, Founder and CEO, SMAPE, to please take the floor. Over to Mr. Rohit Nath and Mr. Grosjean, please.
Thank you, Dr. Megha. His Excellency, Mr. Tripathi, dignitaries, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, certainly gives me pleasure to be part of this, the 30th Sun Meet. We are Infinitech Systems, and we are a joint venture company with SMAPE, a company based in Belgium and operating from its headquarters in Belgium, but having a presence in over 20 countries worldwide. SMAPE is an award-winning company for its innovation, design, and technology in the field of smart energy management. In India, we have successfully installed a pilot, which is in operation at Bangalore International Airport, apart from installations with energy discoms, primarily to provide real-time energy audit, to control their losses, and also to support efficient energy management and generate savings ranging from 10% to 30% through seamless integration and optimization with their solar energy sources. This is my introduction. Since we are on a tight schedule, I would now like to hand over that platform to Mr. Stefan Groschel, the founder and CEO of SMAPI, to make his presentation to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to get the opportunity to present our company and products, but also our experience. I'd like to go on over to my presentation, which should appear so that I can go on. You would bring it up. I didn't share my screen. Hello?
Bimal, can you please share?
Okay, sure. Give me a second.
Yeah.
So I will continue. I have personally 30 years of experience in energy management. I've done in my former company, which I sold to the Honeywell Group a while ago. I've done many airports, amongst others at the airports of Paris in the 3 ones. And being global, having that expertise, I have set up SMAPI to be, as the name says, smart with energy applications. And when we transition actually to to renewable energy, there is one big difference with the past. And actually the power plants cannot just produce electricity when we need it. We cannot turn on the sun and ask the wind to blow when we need more power. So the big difference with the introduction of e.g. solar, as you do in the airports, is that we also need to manage the energy usage differently. We have to use less energy at night because the sun is not shining then. We have to try to use more energy during the day. So to optimize this, we absolutely need to understand how we consume energy. And that is what Lord Kelvin, the famous physicist, said. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And therefore, one of the cornerstones and the first thing that we offer as a solution to start with more energy efficiency is to measure. And measuring has a cost. You have to install it. So we have always seen that we just do generally the main metering and we don't go too much into sub-meters because it's fitting a lot of meters. And as such, with our products, we have tried to simplify that and gone to a flexible, quick to install metering system that is suited not just for industrials, but even also for homeowners, because 40% of a country's consumption is in homes, which should be addressed as well, and which we do. But today I focus on businesses. And we have made it that simple that if you use a classic electricity meter, you would connect every time the 3 voltages, the 3 phases, and the neutral, and then have the currents flow through it or through a CT. But it's always a lot of installation work. And so we have changed the concept to have 1 voltage measurement. Yeah, the slides, do you see the slides changing? Because they don't move for me. I should have this chosen to share my screen, I think. Yes, this is the little current sensor that you see with the hand here. That is easy to open and to put on each of the feeders. It ranges from 50 amps to 10,000 amps with Rogowski coils, and makes it very cost effective to install enough sub-metering, which will give you real-time information on your energy usage, because we believe that the modern architecture and buildings, the smart buildings, have the possibility to provide 40–50% of flexibility in the way they use energy by heating or cooling, which has some thermal inertia. You can use your energy at moments where you have more solar and try to reduce it. 40% of a building, and also an airport in that case, energy consumption can be shifted over time. Therefore, we have this range of products which are simple and easy to install. They fit in all kinds of circuit breaker panels, as we have experienced in many countries. Sometimes they are small and don't have the size. It seems that the slides are not changing. Could you control for me, because it doesn't work?
It changes here.
Okay, so you see the green time for change slide? Is that it? Or am I behind? Yeah. And so we can daisy chain. Actually, you see the little hub like you would have with Ethernet. You see the 4 little CTs there in a switch, like an Ethernet switch, but in our case, it's a CT hub. And you can go hundreds of meters between panels with our solution, and with the little green box in the middle, just connect there the voltages where we measure them, and then we only have to measure the currents. We do it extremely accurately, megabits of speed. We make no errors. We sample 4 times a second. So the quality of the measurement is still good, but we can really quickly and cheaply add metering, so that we have an insight in how we use energy, where we, and what could be shifted in time, because with the energy transition, this is what we are having to do. So the next slide is showing, of course, the data warehouse in which all that data comes into real time from seconds data with harmonics, which is a bit less important for energy efficiency. However, many inverters with solar can provoke some electric disturbances, and we also measure them. But it's keen to have a dashboard or even an app for the energy users. If we move to the next slide. As well with just an app, so that people that are in the field can also see their specific energy usage of their building, their facility, their activity, their process they are responsible for. And on the right hand, you see API. All the data should, of course, be interfaceable and made available to any energy efficiency dashboard and data mining platform, so that you can further analyze this data. I have in my career seen with the Walmarts and the airports that I have equipped with such equipments, seen over the years, 45% of energy reduction per square meter, per square feet, per person visited in the store in KPIs, by having a good idea and insight in the energy consumption, finding abnormal consumption and managing it. And I believe that the first thing to do before we produce it in a renewable way is to reduce the energy usage as a first step. And then move on to when we produce the remaining part that we really need in energy, to make sure we can shift it over time and use as much solar energy on the spot. Because if you produce a lot of energy, what we see in many countries is that we see rates changing, that even homeowners that have solar panels have non-reversing meters here. You don't get money back or refunded for the electricity that you would not use in your home, and that goes back into the grid. And that comes because of congestions. We have too much energy at certain points in time, which means we need batteries in the systems, or we need to create rates that optimize the self-consumption and the use of energy in the homes or in the facilities in the buildings. And this is what we offer once we have measured and we have an insight, control capabilities, automations, and interoperability with other home and building management systems by APIs and protocols, things like Modbus, so that we can really start to control the start to stop or modulate heat pumps, AC units to consume more or less when there is more or less electricity available. So next slide, next slide. As I said, this was interoperability. Such energy management systems need to be really interfacing with many building management systems. And one of the interfaces that we have, for instance, is with electric vehicle charging. Airports have a lot of cars parked, and the cars could be recharged with that solar energy, because we're seeing really traction for electric vehicles. Yes, next slide, please. So one of the use cases, of the many use cases that are represented here in the next slide, please, would be to control the charging speed of electric vehicles. And this is one of the things we do, especially when you have a lot of electric vehicles parked and connected. If you know that, for instance, when a passenger would park his car, he will be back only in 2 or 3 days. With intelligence such as the one that we have in our systems, we know what the market, the smart grid is offering in excess of electricity, or if there is shortage of electricity, we decide to export that electricity into the grid if there is a shortage. If there is too much electricity, we can buy electricity and even be paid by the grid to consume that energy. And the batteries of the electric vehicles that are parked at the airports are a tremendous opportunity here to use them to store that electricity that either you produce and have in excess, or that you even would take from the grid, from other solar panels into other facilities in the cities and the neighborhood. So there are opportunities with airports, with electric vehicles that are really offering this buffering of electricity, where you can resell that electricity that you make on the roofs of the airports directly in the parking without really going through the electricity grid. But you also offer the smart grids the possibilities to be a buffer, a very large battery. And so we have with SMAPI developed our own electric vehicle charging station that has all that intelligence and the cloud intelligence to take weather forecasts and anticipate when there will be excess energy or production based on our real-time measurements. And also with the app that the user, when he parks his car, swipes with his NFC on the app, and then answers the question, when are you coming back? So that we know how long we can take to charge the car and give them interesting rates. So next slide. Intelligent buildings in general, as shown here, have these electric vehicles, as I explained, have solar on the roof, but they also have air conditioning units. And the thermal inertia of buildings is also a possibility. Let's go to the next slide. Please, next. This is the worldwide fund that uses SMAPI for many years, and in their offices globally, and introduce with the insights the energy as a reference. Next slide. Just as an example of what I explained first try to really reduce the energy consumption. Next, please. Butterfly is actually an ESCO in the US that is serving thousands of stores. And I would recommend as well that in the airports, the different stores, the McDonald's and so, would also pay their bill. I expect it is already the case, but it's not always like that. Sometimes they just pay a fixed fee per square feet they use, and all in with energy. That is something that should be avoided. People that consume energy should also pay for the amount of energy, because otherwise they are not motivated, incentivized to really be effective, efficient with the energy. Butterfly, being an ESCO, saves, as I explained with the Walmarts many years ago, we saw the 45% reduction. This is actually what this ESCO is doing, going to multi-sites, using SMAPI to install in the stores, and then monitoring the savings that they bring in, savings like relighting, going to LED efficient lights instead of classic lighting, tuning the HVAC. And with the metering that they have at the beginning, they see how bad it was, what the situation was, and they can see the improvements and track the projects as they implement energy saving projects. They can prove also the homeowners, the building owners, the investors, what they have done in energy efficiency, which accelerates then the process further. So another example of electric vehicle charging that we have realized with SMAPI is Schiphol. It's the Dutch airport, as your airports. And there on the parking lot, we manage the demand of the different EV charging stations, DC and AC, because in EV land, you will put generally more power to charge the cars than power is available. If you have a feeder of 640 amps, you might have 2000 amps altogether with the EV charges, assuming that not all the cars will take the full power at the same time. Some will be staying there longer and be charged, but you might have the occasion that you would go over it. And so that's what we do there. We manage the total demand, or it's called the load balancing of the different EV charging stations of multiple vendors, and we reduce the power offered. So the next slide is an example of our own building, Snowball, where SMAPI is hosted. And this is one of my projects, an accelerator for clean tech companies, where I have applied to different technologies here, which I'm speaking about. I have, you see there, a very big 2.5 megawatt battery with 2.5 megawatt hours storage, which I use to store the electricity from our 180 kilowatt solar panels on the roofs of this, what we think, future-proof building. And for heating and cooling, our climate is a bit different. We use an ice buffer system, which is actually taking the heat out of the water in the winter. We cool the water from 15, 16 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees. And between 0 fluid and 0 ice, we can extract another 80 degrees. So actually 100 degrees out of the 300,000 liters of water that we have in the ground to heat during the whole winter. And at the end of the winter, I have actually stored the cold in the ground in the form of ice. I use this ice water to cool the building during the summer. And so I have no need for energy in the summer to cool it, because I stored the cold of the winter. This is, again, an intelligent way of storing energy, in this case for a season, and to use, because in the summer we have sometimes all our ice melted and we have to reproduce it. But I can decide when I use the electricity from my solar panels or from the grid when there is excess electricity. And then I produce ice at the appropriate time when it fits, because I have a buffer that really can hold at least a few months of cold that I would require in the summer. So the next slide gives you a picture of our SMAPI EV charging stations. We have 50 of them on the parking, and these are controlled. These SMAPI EV charging stations are controlled based on the total availability and demand of the building. And as I said, if we transition to solar and wind, we also have to adapt the way we consume, when we consume, to make sure we match the production of the sun and the wind better with the usage here. And electric vehicles are an interesting thing for that. So that is it. We also combined this EV charging station. It's not just a pole with an ugly plastic box on it. We made it from sustainable material, aluminium, panels in HPL, and we combined it with our little logo with an efficient LED lighting. That is because you have a power supply point. Why have another LED light apart? It gives safe feeling, and it's also the signaling. If you're charging, the LED becomes green. If there is a problem, red. But in the meantime, it gives you light in your parkings or outside. So we made it nicer, but it's mainly an efficient product. So next slide. Even the back can be used for publicity. You could use it to signal, go there. There is the exit, but that's too commercial, so I'll skip this. That's not the purpose. But we believe this also can be combined. Next slide. And this illustrates, in our case, with 8 electric stations. The green line that you see there is the solar curve, the typical sine wave that we generate, and we have instructed our system, we only want solar energy in the cars. And so you see the different colors are actually the charging of electric vehicles that are parked at the office and that are actually modulated to make sure we use that only that electric energy from our PV panels, and that we do not buy electricity from the grid. Of course, you can change it, you can mix it, but this is where...
Sorry, Mr. Grosjean, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Grosjean. We have exceeded our limit, our time slot. I'm so sorry. We are slightly hard pressed for time.
But I'm done. It's just that I lost some time with the slides. Okay, so I think if we can go through the slides.
Thank you very much for showcasing your work.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for
I was at the end. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us and showcasing your work, and thanks for highlighting the opportunities and showcasing SMAPI success stories to us. With this, we move on to our next presentation. In 1991, ladies and gentlemen, the airport operators around the world created Airports Council International, ACI, the first worldwide association to represent their common interests and foster cooperation with partners throughout the air transport industry. Through ACI, the airport community now speaks with a single voice on key issues and concerns. ACI pursues airports' interest in discussions with international organizations. We have with us today Mr. Ken Lau, Senior Manager, Environment and Airport Information Technology, ACI Asia Pacific. Mr. Ken Lau will make a presentation on ACI's work to promote solar power at airports. The floor is yours, Mr. Lau. Your mic is muted, please. Can you please switch it on?
Good, thanks. Oh, I'm not on the full screen now. Okay, can you see my screen? Thank you, Dr. Megha, for your introduction. And His Excellencies, yes, ladies and gentlemen, and friends, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So I have a short slide and showing you what ACI's work to promote solar power at airports. So introduce what ACI is and ACI's response to Paris Agreement. This is the actual why we need solar power at the airports. And then I'll show you one or two slides in ACI work to promote solar power at airports. So ACI is a tradition of airports, and we are the voice of the world's airport, and we lead, represent, and serve the global airport community. And we promote professional excellence in airport management and operation, promoting best practices, what's good for the airports. And I will be about to saying that, so solar at airports would be needed in the near future. So there are 6 priorities area in ACI, and one of them is environment, and then what we talk about. I'm sure you all know what Paris Agreement is and the IPCC report in 2018. And I'm going to talk about what the ACI's response is. And the IPCC report in 2018 actually recommends net zero carbon by 2050. So you see from the last few months, there's a lot of states and countries actually pledging their a future goal in terms of this net zero carbon, whether it's 2050 or 2060s. There's a lot going to happen, and there are going to be more states going to pledge for this goal. Now, I quote ACI Council. It's also going to work on a long-term aspiration goal by 2022. And ATAC, that's the a body for aviation transport action group. Has also we confirm that the aviation industry will achieve the goal of having net aviation CO2 emission by 2050 with the right support from government and researchers be on their way to net zero emission 2060 and 2065. Now for ACI, if you haven't heard the Airport Carbon Accreditation, this is a recognition program for airports' efforts in carbon dioxide emission reduction. And just last month, there is a new level 4 and level 4 plus been launched, and this is going to be aligned with the Paris Agreement with absolute reduction targets and a scientific-based target that is supposed to align with Paris Agreement in order to achieve this level. And also, hot in the plan is a world long supposed to be early last year, and we are at the final phase of it, and there will be a report to the World Governing Board of ACI in April 2021, which will provide recommendations of goals and pathways and regional analysis in how airports in the world to have a long-term carbon goal and work towards it. So some information from that report actually reflect why the need of solar power at airports. Many countries could still rely on fossil fuel by 2050, despite the large uptake of renewable energy and electricity. So I was glad to see that in India there's this possibility of a PPA, and there is a possibility of renewable electricity widely available. But many of our members in Asia Pacific and Middle East, for example, that they do not have this kind of choice of energy. So it's definitely needed that solar at the airport seems to be viable with many successful references that we have in Asia Pacific, particularly in India and Australia, for example. So if you see the pictures, left-hand side is in Adelaide, Australia, and the one on the right in Malaysia, and in the middle picture, we had the courtesy of visiting Delhi Airport, their solar panel during one of our regional environment committee meeting. So we ACIs tends to promote best practice, as I said earlier, and so we are working on a ACI Asia Pacific Solar PV guidance document. And this will look into the technical feasibilities, the simple economic evaluation, case studies from airports in Asia Pacific. Now, I just showed two graphics here. You see the solar potential in red, that we see quite a lot of areas are in red that covers in the region in Asia Pacific. So it makes so much sense to have solar power. But we know there is a lot of hurdles, such as glaring issues and how we can convince governments to allow panels to be near the runway, taxiway, etc. And we are, in fact, seeking many of the Indian airports for such experience and best practices. I'd like to acknowledge Bangalore Airport and Delhi Airport for contributing and volunteering to work in this guidance document. And something also new and hot on the plate, that there is a simple tool for airports to determine feasibility of solar PV at their airports. And this had actually been developed by Zurich Airport in consultation with airports colleagues worldwide. I was part of the think tank with this tool. The idea is to input simple data into this Excel sheet, and also, the electricity costs, etc., to derive the feasibility of installing solar panels at their airport and make it viable economically. So this is free for the link here, and then these slides will be shared through ISA. So I think that's all for me. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the opportunity for me to present here.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. Good to know that ACI would publish ACI World Long-Term Carbon Goals Study Report early next year and provide recommendations of goals and pathways with a focus on regional analysis. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your time. I would now like to call upon Dr. S.R. Anand, Deputy Chief Engineer, Grid Operations, SLDC, Kerala State Electricity Board, to make a presentation on solarization of international airports globally. Over to Dr. S.R. Anand from Kerala State Electricity Board, please.
Thank you, Dr. Megha. Thanks to the organizers for giving us an opportunity to present here this August forum. A warm good evening to all dignitaries. Will you be presenting from that end, or should I applaud?
Okay, I'm doing it.
My presentation is basically it is based on the performance of Cochin International Airport Limited, because that is where the consumer of KSEB, Kerala State Electricity Board. Actually, one thing in the beginning I'd like to emphasize is that in the presentation of CEA, that a 2012 tariff revision, like KSEB was the starting point in their way to solarization, but The point is that it is not KSEB, the distribution licensee, but the Kerala State Electricity Regulatory Commission is doing the tariff revisions. KSEB is no way. We can only make some suggestions, that is all. Kerala is a small power system. We'll be having a brief overview. Then, from the system operation perspective, I'll discuss something on the CL experience, and we'll conclude with the general views on solarization of airports from a system operation perspective, not from any commercial or any other. So for the Kerala power system, it's a small system, as I said, with average peak demand of summer peak demand of about 4,000 megawatt, and monsoon time it could be 3,400 megawatt. Average consumption varies between 68 million units per day to 82 million units per day during summer. Installed capacity, hydro is 2,121 megawatt. Wind, we have 70 megawatt. Solar is 208 megawatt. Thermal, we have internally 539.5 megawatt. And we have tie-ups, long-term tie-ups from several generating stations and other long-term contracts totaling to 2,890 megawatt. This is basically thermal from coal-based stations. Next slide. And the demand curve of Kerala is something like this. This is characterized by the consumer profile also. The consumer profile of Kerala is such that we don't have much industrial units here. We are a consumer, domestic consumers and commercial consumers dominate the consumer profile, and tourism industry is the major industry that is going on. So the pattern of consumption is basically weather dependent. Also, the daytime consumption is rather low. The load factor is also rather low. Go to the next slide. Now, the peak demand of Kerala is around 4,300 megawatt, out of which hydro generation contributes about 1,700 megawatt. That is purely internal, owned and operated by KSEB. Then we have coal-based generation from the contracts that we have with long-term generators with long-term contracts, and with the central generating stations, we have 2,300 megawatt. Solar, of course, there is no solar during peak. Wind, we have about 25 megawatt, and other market component comes around 275 megawatt. Yeah. Now, coming to energy requirements, go to the previous slide. Coming to the energy requirement, we have about 26,500 million units per year right now, of which 6,500 is contributed from the hydro, 18,240 from coal. Solar comes to around 150, wind 120, and market component comes to 1,350. Now, next slide. Now, coming to the present statistics for the last month, for November 2020, we have 70 megawatts of installed capacity of wind, from which we got out about 6.4 million units. More hydros with 211 megawatt installed capacity contributed 54 million units during the month. Solar with 208 megawatt installed capacity contributed 32 million units. Others, cogeneration for 22.2 megawatt contributed about 4 million. So the renewable contribution was 511 million units. 511 megawatt installed capacity. It contributed about 97.64 million units during the month of last month, November 2020. Now, coming to CL from the system operation perspective, again, I repeat that. Installed capacity is about 38 megawatt. Storage is L. Connectivity is at 110 kV. The contract demand is 9 MVA, which means their load is somewhere around 9 MVA, which I'll show you later. CL generates solar power banked with KSEBL and consume energy from Kerala Grid as per their real-time requirement. For the month of November 2020, for the statistics that we have, solar generation is 4.2 million units. and energy consumption was 2.86 million units. This is inclusive of solar generation, and maybe COVID effect is there in their operations. That could be the reason for low consumptions during this period. Otherwise, before COVID, it was comparatively higher than this figure. And energy banked by CIAL to KICB for the month of November 2020 is roughly 1.02 million units. This they can take back when they require. That is the condition. This banking is permitted with the as per the regulations of Kerala State Electricity Regulatory Commission. Or to next slide. So this is a typical solar generation and consumption of CIAL taken on a particular day, on a typical day in November. The topmost line represents the solar generation. It starts roughly at 6:15, goes to a peak by noon and comes down by evening in 45, 18 hours. And the blue line represents the load. So that comes around 10 megawatt, like that. And the bottom line is the net import and the export from the grid. So during night hours, they take the entire load from Kerala grid. And during daytime, in the initial period, they take some load from Kerala grid. And after that, they'll be exporting to Kerala. So Kerala grid is acting as a buffer, absorbing the excess generation from the solar generator of CIAL. Now, with that, I'll just go through some general observations. Airport operation is almost round the clock, and consumption of electricity is likely to be more during night. Just basically traffic dependent, and earlier pattern before COVID scenario, it was slightly more during night hours. And solar power airport without storage depends on banking with the distribution licensing. And the bank power when returned may not be green. So it's not a 100% green energy that cannot be considered as fully true. Next slide. Now for the futuristic suggestions for those who are already, Bangalore airport has already indicated that they are going for storage. The benefit of internal storage, it increases the reliability of supply, because without internal storage, in the event of a grid failure or a supply failure, the airport depends again on the DG set immediately. That is going back to grey energy, more polluting than the energy generated by the grid on a larger scale at a coal-based station. Right now, from the discussion so far, also it is clear that the solarization is a commercial based, is more commercial based on the cost of energy that from the distribution licensee or from any other generator vis-a-vis the cost of solar generation. It's not only that the energy, the airports are going to green energy, because if they want to move to green energy, then storage mechanism should also be in place. That's what we have to suggest from the point of system operation, grid operation. Okay, so I conclude there. Thank you for patient listening. Any further clarifications we can.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the statistics and for making the recommendations and giving us the suggestions. Thank you for joining us. With this, we move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker for today is Mr. Roy Sebastian, a Chief Project and Engineering Officer, Delhi International Airport Limited. I request Mr. Sebastian to kindly make his presentation.
Good evening, everyone, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, ISA, for giving this opportunity for us. And let me actually run through the contents. Basically, we will actually run through these contents, including the scale of opportunities to the risk and implementation and its analysis, glare studies which we have carried out before implementing, and also the solar agiles and some of the accolades we have actually received. So on a larger scale, all countries are actually proactively focusing on the reduction of carbon footprints to reduce the global warming. So airport operation generally consumes a considerable amount of electricity for providing passenger experience, operating the passenger facilities, and operation of the aircraft movements and such like that. And currently, the larger focus has actually bringing a lot of understanding in the need of reducing the global warming, and they have taken major step towards the generation of energy through the renewable sources. And our vision is actually to be an institution in perpetuity that will bring in, build an entrepreneurial organization making a difference to society through creation of the values. And we have, as GMR Group, we have a 25 megawatt solar plant in Gujarat and wind-based 2.1 megawatt plant in Gujarat, 5 megawatt of our solar plant in Hyderabad at our Hyderabad airport, and another 5 megawatt is actually implementation is in progress. And at Delhi airport, we have 13 megawatt of solar plant installed. And at Delhi airport, we just want to emphasize that it is just not the airport alone. We also collaborate with all our concessionaires, and wherever there is actually a associated building where concessionaires are there, for example, cargo operators or FBOs. So we encourage them also to actually use the solar energy to ensure that renewable sources are actually in place within our airport premises.
Sorry, Roy, to interrupt, your slides are not moving.
Oops.
You are on the first slide only, introductory slide.
Sorry.
So you asked them to.
Wait, let me actually try one more time. Can you see the slide now moving?
No, slide is stuck. I think it is not moving. Means the screen is stuck. Only I can see your cursor movement, but the slides are not changing.
Would you mind uploading that presentation, please? Thank you.
Doing it, sir.
All right, so can you move towards the slide number 5, please? Thank you. Next slide, please. So I was actually talking about the scale of opportunity. So we typically the contribution towards the clean energy generation through the natural resources are actually an area which we can actually look into. And at the same time, we need to reduce the energy purchase and also maximize the revenue with the minimum operating costs. And typically in airport, there are large parcels of land that can be utilized for solar, where commercial opportunities or land cannot be used for commercial purposes. And obviously, eventually, we need to actually get into the corporate social responsibility commitment as well. Next, please. And on the various options, on the demand side, we can actually see on the efficiency improvement, capacity building, and the operational improvements. While on the supply side, we have solar and biomass plant available. On the solar, we have 13 megawatt of plant, and on the biomass, we have 12 TPD plant capacity, which is actually getting implemented within our premises itself. Next, please. So typically a solar plant, as I mentioned earlier, the large parcels of lands available within the adjacent to the airport runway can be actually utilized for solar and renewable sources. This vision is typically being implemented at major airports around the globe. And also as the solar cost drops and the incentives are actually increasing. And in an airport, we need to actually ensure that airfields are frequently looked into for safety aspects, and large airports which are actually situated in larger cities where demand is high, and smaller airfields may be actually in the remote operation with limited infrastructure. Next, please. And there are tens of thousands of airports or airfields around the globe. These are actually a flat piece of land that can be actually utilized. And according to the CIA World Fact Book, there are 41,788 airports or airfields visible from the air in 236 countries. So this is itself is actually a reason for us to actually go for solar implementation at various sources. And also, if you look into the October 2008 report on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and which has recommended all sectors to actually reach the net carbon zero by 2050, and we are also focusing towards, and all the airport community can actually work towards achieving this carbon zero provisions as well. Next, please. And our objective is actually to improve energy security at organization level by reduced dependency on grid power, fulfill our carbon zero initiative, and support the National Action Plan on Climate Change. And of course, and other national and global climate change mitigation measures. And we constantly endeavor towards renewable energy development, identify and develop potential sources on site for renewable energy development, explore the possibilities of using off-site renewable sources as well. So here in this case, while solar is actually our focus, our Terminal 3 roof, which is actually approximately 5.5 acres, we are actually planning to do that. We are doing a study on how to actually install the panels on the RIP by providing proper supports. And Terminal 1, which is under development, we are making provision for installing the solar panels as well. Next, please. So our mission is actually achieving the mission through a deployment of technology and innovation to sustain profitability with care for environment. And our strategic intent is to achieve organization level energy optimization program with alternate energy sources. Sustainability intent is actually climate change mitigation and optimization of greenhouse emissions. And our material intent is to energy cost optimization and energy efficiency improvement on typically the land monetization of the area. And opportunities are actually there by actually doing various trend analysis and SWOT analysis, market scan, and project various implementation programs in place. Next, please. And obviously in an airport, when we actually want to install solar, we have to actually, there are many restrictions and challenges. And at Delhi Airport, I can actually say that various regulators were actually supportive enough in actually ensuring that we are actually successfully implementing this 7+ megawatt power alongside the runway. Of course, there are a glare to flight crews and the air traffic controllers. Optical limitations was actually the things that need to be actually looked into. Communication and navigation aid interferences and electromagnetic interferences. Energy generation definitely is limited to the daytime, but however, still the usage of the generation from our solar is actually directly linked into the inline usage itself. So there is no storage or other requirements are there, because typically we have a 51 megawatt demand per day. So and obviously wildlife management is actually another area to look into. Next, please. So as I mentioned, we have various areas to look into, and cost savings and cash flow in terms of REC, operational risk, which I mentioned that we have actually mitigated all of them actually by providing frangible support systems along the way. and maintenance-friendly implementation, which is carried out, and basically all the governmental benefits and acceleration depreciations which we have actually get into. And the gestation period is actually much lesser when compared to other sources. Next, please. And we had done a special design consideration for the plant establishment within the operational area, and we did a site survey, including the geotechnical investigation for the stability. Glare and radiation analysis was carried out, and the power evacuation facility was actually implemented, and all approvals from the regulatory authorities were actually obtained during the implementation process itself. Next, please. And typically the design standards look into as a guidance from the FAA Airport Solar Guide. So we actually follow that and ensure that all the formulations are actually and guidance are actually taken into consideration. Next, please. And a glare analysis was actually carried out. Our solar, which is implemented, which are implemented at the adjacent to the runway, we have a tool level of tilting. So a maximum generation is actually possible with the 13-degree and the 40-degree analysis, which was actually carried out and which can be tilted. Next, please. And of course, supporting to the global environment policies and PM's vision of establishing 200 gigawatt, we believe that there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of contributions can be actually made by the airport aviation sector. There are approximately 464 airports or airport strips in India which can be actually utilized. And Delhi airport is actually constantly working on improving the infrastructure and other facilities. And at the same time, using the abundant and natural solar power for its day operation. Next, please. This is actually a matrix for our plant solar plant implementation. We have two sets, plants. One is actually a 2.84 megawatt and a 5 megawatt plant. The first one was actually implemented, commissioned in 2014, and the second one was actually in 2016. So typically 25% of the dial peak demand is actually being met from solar plant, including the concessionaire installation. Next, please. Our solar plant is actually non-reflective solar photovoltaic solar panels, and which is actually having a high efficiency solar panels with a central inverters. And our PLF is actually 17.5 despite severe winter period or all the 4 seasons which we have here. And as I mentioned earlier, seasonal tilt panels are actually there, and state-of-the-art SCADA for real-time monitoring. For the regulatory authorities, which we are actually selling details to them, and of course cleaning of the water modules with the less water consumption or waterless technology. Next, please. And we have various delegations. Like Ken mentioned, he and his team from ACI also visited us to understand as part of our airport accreditation program, and on the various delegations, including the team from Belgium and Bangladesh also visited to understand how we have actually done, especially on the solar implementation adjacent to the runways. Next, please. And as DIAL, we have our journey started in 2014, and FY21 we are achieving 100% renewable. We have actually also invested into a hydro plant, which in Himachal Pradesh, who will be actually providing us 100% requirement, which can be actually utilized by us. We have a 120 megawatt, which is actually for 140 million capacity. When we reach together with our AeroCity developments and all the concessionaires, the total consumption can be actually through renewable sources going forward. Next, please. So on the layout, you can actually see that adjacent to our runway 1129, we have the 2 solar plants. Next, please. So it's actually one of the picture for our solar plant, which you can actually see the Terminal 3 and the ATC tower behind in the background. Next, please. So we do have various achievements and certifications. First airport globally to achieve the ISO 50000 certificate, and first in India to achieve the Green Go Gold, and we have the LEED Gold under the new construction. Then IGBC Platinum for under the EB category, and first airport globally to adopt the LEED building program, monitoring ARC program, and also we are the only airport in the world to actually have the 3 green building certificate. All new infrastructure being developed under the green building initiatives and the principles. Next, please. So a few of the latest awards. You can actually see the ACA award on carbon neutrality, which we received. Next, please. And we are also on the peer certification. We have received a peer certification as well for our facility here. Next, please. And these are some of the awards which we received from CII in 2019 on the energy efficiency and excellence in water management, LEED Platinum, and Honeywell Building Awards as well. Next, please. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to us. And any questions, you can actually just send it to us, and we are happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us your perspective and telling us your objectives and plans for the future. From your solar opportunities and risk diagram, we could clearly see there were 5 thumbs up you have given for solar, and only 1 thumb was down. So clearly there are many opportunities, and operational risk is what needs to be mitigated. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. With this, we move on to our last presentation. I would invite Mr. Prasanna Kumar Poddar, Head of Technical Services, Rajiv Gandhi International Airport, Hyderabad, to kindly make his presentation on solarization of airports globally. Over to Mr. Poddar, please.
Good evening, His Excellencies and the dignitaries. I'm just going to share my screen. Hope you are all able to see my screen. Today we are going to present on a solarization of international airport case, taking GMR Hyderabad International Airport as a case study. With me, I have my colleague Nalin Jaiswal, who will be explaining us on the solar initiatives what we took at Hyderabad Airport. Before that, I would like to just take you through the project details of Hyderabad Airport. As you are aware, this airport was built in a PPP model, structured on a BOOT basis, and it was commissioned in a record time of 31 months. And it was commissioned on March 23rd, 2008. The design capacity of terminal that time was 12 million passengers per annum, and it can handle cargo of 1.5 lakh metric tons. Peak traffic handled was 22 plus million passenger per annum. Why I said was this was a pre-COVID era wherein we handled 22 plus million passengers. But however, with the recent great recovery in the aviation sector, we are almost reaching 70% of our domestic pre-COVID traffic now. And currently we are undergoing a massive expansion plan of our airport facilities, including our terminal and the cargo facilities, wherein it will enable us to handle about 40 million passengers per annum and about 2.5 lakh metric ton of cargo. This is a perspective view of expanded airport terminal, which is of area of about 3,80,000 square meter. And it has got a unique features like natural lighting during daytime through a facade and a temple leaf structure in the roof. And we have a curved and corrugated structure around the passenger terminal building, which provides resistance from the direct sunlight. And good thermal insulation to our entire building fabric of our terminal building, wherein our roof and the glass are very high performance one. And our glass facades have a U value of 1.4 watts per square meter with a shading coefficient of 0.47. Today, our maximum demand of electricity is about 10 megawatt for airport operations. But however, with all this expansion plan in place in next 2 years, our electricity demand will going to be a threefold one. That's the reason we are very clear path for our electrical infrastructure upgradation and renewable energy source. Coming to Hyderabad Airport solar initiatives, I will just hand it out to my colleague, Mr. Nalin Jiswal.
Thank you, sir. So currently at Hyderabad Airport, the installed capacity is 10 megawatt peak, and the phase 1 is in operation since October 2016. The phase 2 capacity was commissioned in April 18, and we are in process of getting approval from the State Electricity Board for generation and integration of the same with grid.
And there's a good news that it's a very coincident that this morning only we got approval from the local electrical authorities to operationalize our phase 2 solar plant. Effectively from next week onwards, we will be our capacity of solar generation will be about 10 megawatt.
On an average from phase 1, that's the 5 megawatt peak solar plant, we are generating close to 6 lakh units of electricity every month, which is close to 25% of our net airport energy consumption. And as sir told that from the next month, we are anticipating that close to 50% of the net airport power consumption will be from the solar plant. And as per the guidance from our senior management, we are planning to add more capacity of to our existing solar infrastructure. And by financial year of 27, we may become 100% solar power airport. This is the irradiation map of Hyderabad. Hyderabad is very well located, I would say, with a horizontal irradiation of 5.2 units per square meter. The specification of our solar plant, the total installed capacity is 10 megawatt, with the total generation till date being at 32.3 million units. And the plant is located within the airport premises. The type of solar panel which we have used is polycrystalline photovoltaic panel. And the total land utilized is 42 acres. Coming to our solar contribution in our net units, as we earlier mentioned, close to 25% of the total power consumption is via renewable energy source. The landed cost of solar power is close to 4.25 rupees per unit, and the cost of thermal power here at Hyderabad is close to 7.4 units. The savings in terms of rupees is close to 5.2 crore rupees per annum. Some of the best practices which has yielded a very good performance ratio of close to 79% for our solar plant are like solar panels are regularly cleaned by robotic machines, daily monitoring of power generations, panel cleaning at scheduled interval, maintenance and monitoring practices like RCFA and spare monitoring, and also oil filtration and VCB servicing is done on yearly basis. These maintenance activities also includes the thermography of panels and the routine PM activities pertaining to electrical systems, including cables. Some of the key factors which affect the plant performance apart from the glaring in the airport industry are like inverter losses, temperature losses, shadings, dust, air quality, and the poor irradiation. Coming to our daily monitoring, the power generated at solar plant is regularly monitored via SMS, and also the same has been incorporated into the daily operation and maintenance report, which is shared to all the top management for their review. This is our roadmap for solar power. In the era of artificial intelligence and industrial Internet of Things, the maintenance philosophy has changed, and we are also going towards an AI-based solution of maintenance dashboard that would be completed by financial year 21. Robotic cleaning machine for the complete 10 megawatt plant by financial year 22. We are also studying the feasibility of building integrated photovoltaic technology in passenger boarding bridges and rooftop, and the same shall be completed by 23. And as we mentioned earlier, we are committed to go for 100% renewable energy-based airport by 27. Slightly moving away from the context of the seminar, we are also committed towards the zero water discharge policy. We are currently having two numbers of 925 KLD sewage treatment plant, and moreover, another sewage treatment plant of 1325 KLD has been recently installed. Apart from it, cloud-based automatic irrigation system, and we are also maintaining a lush green cover at the airport. Some of the reservoirs, based on the hydrological studies, we have developed storm water storage, and at various locations close to 2.5 lakh meter cube spread across the area of 35 acre, we have a 4 number of reservoirs which have the total capacity of 10 lakh meter cube. The purpose was to collect storm water from airport campus and to use the same for ground recharge. Some of the awards which we recently won, like CI Excellent Energy Efficient trophies, which we have winning from past 6 years. Apart from that, we are continuously winning the National Energy Leader Award from past 2 years. Apart from that, the certification of IMS, Energy Management System, Environment Management System, and also also a level 3+ neutrality for carbon accreditation. Recently, in the first week of December, we also won the CII's Performance Excellence Award for our 5 megawatt ground mounted solar. This is from our side. Thank you.
Before we conclude, definitely we are looking at ISA as our great partner in bringing national level and the state level policies which will be conducive for an airport developer to invest and install higher capacity plant, because Telangana state policy, what we talked about second phase of solar power plant was commissioned way back in 2018. Due to various policy matters and the hurdles, only today, this morning, it means after 2 years of commissioning, we got a clearance to operationalize the plant. Definitely, we will be looking at all the regulatory bodies and the ISAs to support us in bringing in very friendly policy so that the investor and the airport operator can invest money in the solar generation and renewable energy. And I would like to thank ISA for providing us this opportunity to present our solar initiatives. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Poddar. Thank you for highlighting day-to-day maintenance and monitoring activities and AI-based operation dashboard that you're working on. This is futuristic. And as another speaker has also highlighted, smart energy management and IoT integration is the way forward. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. With this, we move to the country interventions. The floor is now open for country interventions. Yes. Right. So I would like to invite Mr. Tin On, Excellency Tin On. We have permitted talking to you, Your Excellency. You may please intervene. Sure. Moving forward, I would like to invite Ms. Surampudi Venkata. The talking is permitted to you. Would you like to intervene, please?
Surampudi varu maatladandi.
Moving forward, sir, with your permission, Ravi sir, can I proceed, please? Sure. So I would like to invite any Excellency High Commissioners or Honorary Consuls or Ambassadors who would be in the meeting who would like to intervene, and you're most welcome, Your Excellency. So thank you very much. Any of the international airports who have joined us today in this meeting, would you like to, would anybody like to intervene, please? Sure. So we will move forward from here. I would now request Mr. Arun Mishra, Senior Advisor, International Solar Alliance, to please present his concluding remarks. Over to Mishra, sir, please.
Thank you, Megha. And my sincere thanks on behalf of AISA to all the presenters, particularly Mr. Kurian, Mr. Mishra, and other members from the various airports in India, and all the honorable members, the message and the councillors and the 25, 26 airport authorities from across the world who have attended this seminar today. Even though I know that there were not many questions because the presentations are very, very good. But in case you need any further clarification, AISA will be only too happy to provide you. And I'm sure all the presenters today will be more than happy to clarify your doubts and be of assistance to you. So feel free to ask us even after this conference. We shall be available to you to answer to you. Particularly for the member countries and the participating airports, two things are very, very clear. One, of course, is like Dr. Mishra, Arun Mishra from the ICAO mentioned, even though we have 17,000 plus airports in the world, only 100 of them are in the process of being solarized. So it's just the beginning. It's not that if we have not done it, we have really lost the game. That is number one. And the second point, we have seen from various experiences. We heard from Delhi, we heard from Bangalore, we heard from Hyderabad, and of course, we heard from Cochin, that solarization is a viable concept. You tend to save a lot of money. In fact, Cochin clearly mentioned that the 25% of their O&M expenses were on account of energy cost. And you saw the presentation by the State Load Dispatching Center. And SLDC, Mr. Anand clearly said that while the production of Cochin was about 4 million units per day, their export was about 1 million units per day, which is almost like 25%. So they were not only able to meet their requirements during the day hours, but they were also able to bank sufficiently to be able to get it back when during the evening hours. So it's a very viable proposition that has been very clearly established. The third point that has been very clearly established is that it doesn't have to be at one go. Mr. Kurian and Mr. Joseph, Jose Joseph, they said that they started with 100 kilowatts, moved out to 1 megawatt, then moved out to 12 megawatts, then to 40 megawatts, and now planning 52 megawatts. So solarization of an airport can be done in a staggered manner. You don't have to invest the entire amount at the same time. And don't be too worried about it. It can be done in a staggered manner, and integration with the grid is not a difficult proposition. That is the third point that we need to understand. And we saw the integration of Cochin Airport with Kerala. Kerala state, which is almost like, the demand is equivalent to many of our member countries, almost like 4,300 megawatts per day. So, and they were able to integrate the entire supply very easily. There was hardly any problem in that. And don't worry about banking. The reverse purchase by banking is green or not. All over the world that happens. When we install the solar capacity, we export and we import, and we don't really see whether it is green or not, because no one can say that the returned banked power is green or gray or blue or white. No one really gets into that. As long as you are able to install solar renewable energy, it is considered green. So this is the third important point. Depending on the kind of money that we have, depending on the kind of financial closure we can get, we can stagger our investments and make it completely solarized over a period of time. It doesn't have to be done at one time. The fourth important takeaway from here is it doesn't have to be on-site. Many airports may not have sufficient land available with us. So you can make it on-site, and you can also make it off-site. If you are going for an off-site development, which you saw that many people in India are doing, whether it is Bombay, whether it is Hyderabad, Delhi, Bangalore, or anyone, they're all doing on, and even Cochin now, they're doing offsite. All that you need to do is to make sure that your country or your nation has a policy for banking and also for open access. So once you have these two policies in place, then an airport can easily plan for an on-site and an off-site production. And that can help solarizing or at least converting the airport to a green airport quickly. So that is the fourth takeaway that we got from these excellent presentations. And the fifth one, which is very, very interesting, that you can also make it a very interesting proposition. Cochin and Hyderabad and others have, you saw the kind of carports they have created. These carports can be used for charging electrical vehicles at some future point of time if those areas start having electrical vehicles, because they're so beautifully designed. All that you need is a charging station. So they can be converted. Then you saw floating solar. Floating solar has also been integrated with this. And then, of course, green coverage goes without saying. And fourth, you also saw the vegetable cultivation. So all these things can be done. It's the optimum utilization of a particular land site can be done successfully, as has been proved in case of Cochin. So that is something that you can easily do. And fifth, of course, is the experiment that Cochin was trying to conduct of placing the solar panels in various manner, east, west, south, north, so as to optimize the utility, optimize the radiance available in that particular point of time. That is one way. And the second way, of course, is you can always install a tracker. Now, in some other presentation, we heard that a tracking system can actually improve your generation by almost 9 to 10%. So that also can be included. So all these wonderful takeaways we have got from this beautiful presentation that we have had. And I think this is the time when AISA can actually partner with the ICAO, and we can honestly try to promote all our member countries to adopt some kind of a declaration that we will start solarizing our airports. And I am seeking your permission of all member countries today that we will circulate some kind of a declaration to all of you, and sincerely hope and sincerely wish, after looking at all the presentations today, that you shall support us in this endeavor. We'll work with ICAO, and I'm grateful that Mr. Mishra could take time to come and join us, and we'll work with them. And we heard the Airport Council, ACI, coming out with a study report, which will help you understanding your situation vis-a-vis the radiance factor and other factors, and we'll work on that. So that's the beginning of this act. So finally, I will sincerely like to thank Mr. Kurian, his team, and other eminent speakers today, Mr. Mishra from ICAO and others, for making excellent. My request to all of them will be that please allow us to share your presentations with any member that you want to put, and please allow us to upload your presentations on our website so that it's available to the general public. I will presume that you have accepted, unless you send us in writing saying that please don't load it, because asking for your consent and waiting for the consent, people get desperate. People want to have this presentation. You saw many observations where they say, can you have this presentation? Can you have the presentation? So please, I'm requesting you all to allow me to upload it in our website and share it with the general public. Yeah, unless you have some objection, then you can send it in writing to us that please don't upload it, and we will not do it. That is our assurance. So finally, I want to compliment Mr. Ravi Kant and his team, and Dr. Megha Puspendra and others for organizing a very good webinar. We are thrilled that more than 250 people participated in that, and more than 250 presence of more than 250 professionals give us a lot of hope. And I want to assure on behalf of AISA that whatever AISA can do to facilitate solarization of the airports, we shall be more than happy to do. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. So with your permission, we will conclude the webinar now, sir.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you, Kurian, sir.
And from Megha can formally thank all the presenters. I didn't take their names individually because it is getting late. But you know, when Megha says thank you to all, please take it as Aisa's thank you to all.
We are honored to have each one of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you
to all. Thank you all.
For joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kurian. Thank you, and wonderful job.
You can upload it, absolutely no issues.
Thank you, sir.
Upload all our presentations.
Thank you, sir.
We'll do that. Yeah, you know, but your video also looked very good. You know, just to introduce myself, you know, I retired as a secretary to Government of India. I'm from 76 batch of IAS.
Okay.
So, then I'm presently helping Mr. Tripathi in his work.
Okay, that's very nice, sir. I mean, I belong to the 83 batch of the IAS.
Which you're from the IAS?
1983 batch of the IAS.
Oh, really? That's wonderful. You look so young. Who would have thought that you're from
I retired 3 years back.
Oh, really? I think it's all this fish and I don't know how all you Keralites remain so young all the time. You look so fresh. Yeah. 83 batch, so serious. Yeah.
Ravikant is my cadre mate also.
I know. That's
right after Vijay Kurian, sir. He was Ernakulam.
I'm Sundaresan's batch.
Conceived. When this
sorry?
Sial was conceived, he was Ernakulam collector, sir, in 91, 92 or something like that.
Yeah, that's 91 to 93.
You know, the one point that is remarkable is you started with such a small capital contribution. 20,000 rupees.
Yeah, that's very true.
That itself is a case study.
Sir, HUDCO has contributed 25 crores, sir, loan at that time. HUDCO has contributed for 25 crores, sir.
HUDCO was a great support.
Now, HUDCO at that time was willing